A friend of mine was telling me about the parable of the widow, persistent widow, and it's in Luke chapter 18 and verse 1 to 8. And it says, "And he told them a parable to the effect that they ought always to pray and not lose heart. He said, in a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor regarded men. And there was a widow in that city who kept coming to him and saying, 'Vindicate me against my adversary.' For a while he refused, but afterwards he said to himself, 'Though I neither fear God nor regard men, yet because this widow bothers me, I will vindicate her, or she will wear me out by her continual coming.' And the Lord said, 'Hear what the righteous judge says. And will not God vindicate his elect, who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long over them? I tell you, he will vindicate them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?'" And he told me this story because he said, I sound like the persistent widow, and I'm a very persistent person. When I have a goal, I have an idea, I'm going for it. But what God has taught me is that when you have faith that God heard you, you don't have to keep praying. You don't have to keep asking. So my friend said, is it that you have a peace? And at the time it sounded like that, but then I realized, no, it's because I know where my anxiety comes from. When you ask God for something and you're praying about it and you've already asked God multiple times, if you keep coming, it's because you have an anxiety. You have a fear that God did not hear you the first time. God will not answer you the second time, and God will never come through. So that fear you have is really the reason why you keep praying. But if you have faith that God heard you before you even asked, he already answered. There's no reason to keep asking. You planted that seed. You just got to let God do what God does. But if you have a fear that God did not hear you, you have a fear that it's not going to happen, you'll keep praying. So he did say, is it because you had a feeling of peace? No, it's not really that. It's me realizing my anxiety is the driving force of me constantly praying. So I have to find out, where's the anxiety coming from? I've told you guys before, I'm single and I don't go on dating apps. I don't do any of that stuff because I already know that I'm going to get married. I already know that someone is going to be in my life. I already know that. So what's the point of me going on these apps, doing all this stuff to get attention or put myself out there? That means I have an anxiety that God did not hear me. That means I have a fear that God will not come through. Now, I do have to take some action, but I don't have to be extreme about it because I do believe that God already answered my prayer. It was just a matter of time before that prayer comes to manifestation. So in order for me to have a peace, I must be aware of the anxiety. The anxiety would be, oh, you're 40 something years old and you don't have this, you don't have that, da, da, da. That would be causing me anxiety. But there's no reason to have anxiety. If you know God already answered your prayer, you already know that God already did it. It's just a matter of time. The only thing that's separating you from your husband is distance. That's really it, because he already exists. And so having that awareness, I'm not going to have anxiety over this. I'm not going to keep begging, pleading, doing all, because then I have a fear that God is not going to answer me. So the question is, what are you afraid of? What is it that you're scared of happening if God does not answer this prayer? What do you think will be the outcome if God does not answer the prayer? And if you can get to the root of your anxiety, then you'll have more peace when you pray. You believe that God already heard you before you even ask. Thanks for watching. Bye.